Hey, Ron Newcomb here with the Indie Coach Podcast. I am here with my buddy Brad Silverman with Kappa Studios, and we're going to be talking everything post production today and beyond. So, for those, Brad, that might not know you, how about you give a little bit of context of your origin story? How did you get into this whole crazy world of filmmaking?
Yeah, great. Boy, having thought about the origin, it feels like so long ago, but I think the origin would start when I was in like probably college. I noticed that for every hour I would spend, you know, trying to study accounting or economics, or I'd spend 7 hours working on my lip sync act. So it was just like clearly I felt entertainment calling. And yeah, it was fast forward. I always was in front of the camera, comic or just comedic actor, and that's where I started back in the '90s. But when it comes to film and TV, all the action was behind the camera.
Yeah.
So I was bored as an actor in a way. So and I thought stage is one thing, live performance, which I love, that's one thing. But so I started gravitating toward behind the camera, and then fast forward, kind of career went in a bunch of different directions, and then yeah, probably about 2007-ish, yeah, what, roughly 20 years ago, I started directing. And so I did about
Hmm.
3 or 4 features and some TV and all that. And I really loved it. And I'm mainly a writer. So it was the writing and the directing kind of became much more than than the performer. So long story short, from there, I was a client at Kappa Studios where I currently work. I was directing a couple shows for Lionsgate, and this was our post facility. Kappa Studios was our post production facility in Burbank, and yeah, we just became friends with the owner. And then a moment in time, years later, we decided to join forces, and he was running a great thing here, and I thought it was just a great opportunity to get involved with.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I have known Kappa for quite some time, jumped on several calls with you guys, have shared some projects, kind of JV that I was a part of that utilized Kappa. So just, again, hearing a lot of great things with you guys. You guys are very polished, very professional. Tell me a little bit more about specifically about Kappa, kind of what you all do. If I'm listening as a filmmaker, to
Yeah.
kind of give again some context of what bucket I should put Kappa in. What does Kappa do ultimately?
Yeah, great question. So Kappa's background is all post production, uh, which is pretty much one thing I liked about it as a client was it did everything. Kappa does everything, and I grew up in Los Angeles, so the city is there's no mystique or mystery to LA for me. But the one given in Los Angeles, it's a cliche, it's a punchline, is the traffic and the driving. You're in your car 3 hours a day doing your color over here, your sound here, just in post production alone, right? So you're doing your trailer here. You're driving your car 3 hours, and you're always, you can't do this because that company hasn't sent the files to him, and you're driving yourself crazy. Uh, but that's how you do it. It's a boutique. You do your sound here. That's the way you do it, and not necessarily. So I stumble on a Kappa, and I just love the fact that I'm like, okay, I can spot my trailer in room 6, then hop over to do my sound mix in room 9. And it was just like I called my wife. I'm like, I feel like a banker. I work from like 10 to 6 and go home for dinner. And at the end of the day, they would give me my next day's schedule for a project. Like, okay, we need you at 10:30 here, and this. And I'm like, awesome. I knew where every couch was for my naps, and the rest was history. So it was just a beautiful thing. So it was the convenience of Kappa as an all inclusive post facility that was my main thing. And then fast forward, when Paul, the owner of Kappa, and I became closer friends, while it's still a post facility, we then started expanding it more. Part of the reason I came on board was to be doing original content as well. So we're mainly a post and distribution, and we have a very niche audience that we appeal to. We're very, very specific in our audience. But in terms of what we do, now we can do pretty much everything as far as production, post, and distribution.
Wow, that's fantastic. So when people start hearing post, I start thinking um, editing, color, sound. Do you do all of that
Yeah, yeah, those are the three. If I had to pick three, those are always the first that would come out
primary?
of my mouth. Add VFX, you want to do a fancy opening credit sequence. You want to do animation or animations. You want to do all the technical stuff, the QCing, the deliverables. So it's pretty much it's because of the scope of what Kappa does. Even as I'm thinking, even as a client, where they will always, the A to Z, they will always get me to Z. You know, I may not need all the service. I mean, I may not need everything Kappa does, but I love the fact that they can and did, so that whatever, you know, my final destination was for the film, they could create the deliverables to go to any platform, just and on and on and on. So, but to your point, yeah, every aspect of, you know, every aspect of post, not that it mattered, but the one tiny nuance would be if you're doing like a major VFX driven, you know, Jurassic Park type thing, we would be outsourcing that. But other than that, they'll do pretty much everything here.
Yeah, and even then, I imagine Capo, kind of like you said, you could outsource it. It's almost like if you needed to go to that higher end, you all have been in the industry now
Oh,
and a
yeah.
staple where you know the people, you could pull people in. Can you talk to me a little bit about? I see sticker shock or shock value from people when they get the deliverables list, right?
Yeah.
Filmmakers rarely know that there's this whole distribution element called
Right.
deliverables, and it's this
Right.
whole do out of things that must be done. And once you see it, you go, of course they would need this. So for instance, we had a project go on Netflix and then theatrical and all these, and then at the time we were still doing DVDs. So they do, when you hear QC, that's quality control. There's a very rigid quality assurance that each
Yeah.
company has. At the time, if I'm, and this, correct me if I'm wrong, please, Brad, I don't know what the latest is, but at the time, Apple was like the premier QC. If you could get through Apple, you kind of got through everybody else. But there was this whole QC element and then deliverables list. When you speak to filmmakers, is there anything that you could tee up around deliverables or what they should be thinking or expectation around deliverables?
Yeah. Wonderful question. The big picture answer is, um, typically filmmakers, especially independent filmmakers, typically may not budget for that at all. And if they do, it's not enough. And then even if they do, they may not budget enough for post, let alone deliverables, right? And even if they do, more often than not, they went over budget on production, so they used the money they were going to use for distribute for for post or deliverables anyway. So even if they tried to budget for it, they didn't have enough of a contingency or something that they end up plummeting. So they're back to square one in terms of needing to raise more money in many cases for post. And to your point of the QC, QC is one thing we do. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the caveat of what you're saying, as far as Apple being, if you delivered there, you could go anywhere. That whether that's specifically true now is not even the point. It's changing every day,
Mm,
right? The deliverables spec. Think of how technology's changed, right,
yeah,
in the last 30 years, right? So, let alone 30 days with AI, just everything. It's an ever moving thing, ever moving target. So yeah, so Kappa, we must be on top of that.
yeah,
You know, because to your point, you might, I don't know if this is getting off on a tangent for your question, but it's a good idea to have a line producer. If you're making a movie, have a line producer, and if they haven't budgeted for uh, certain deliverables, because then it is cause for concern. Uh, there are times your distributor will pay for some, and the production pays for others. That's always negotiable. I wouldn't say there's any hard fast rules, but I would say it this way: it's not just the what I call the physical deliverables, creating the master files that are going to go to Netflix, creating the translations, the SRT, the captions, and yes, there's a laundry list of what I call the physical deliverables. Example, if we're delivering to foreign territories, we have to create versions where it has the music and effects, but not the dialogue, right? So we still
right,
have the
right.
bits and the music and everything, but
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have to just the dialogue so that it can be dubbed into other languages.
right,
These are things very few think about, especially if you're young, right?
for sure.
All those are part of deliverables. That could be 20 grand, 30, depending on what we're doing. But on top of that, you also have all the paperwork deliverables, the legal
Yeah,
stuff, different
yeah,
insurances you need, different title reports you need, different copyright things. And there are many times, yeah, filmmakers can get quite blindsided because most distributors are going to say, hey, you must deliver me this.
Yeah.
and it's your responsibility to get all that
100%.
done.
Yep.
And then to your point, the last thing I'll say about that is they get this, these random things that are so expensive. They add up, right? Insurance alone could be 3,500, $4,000, you know, and but Netflix won't take you unless you have, for because they
Yeah.
don't want to be sued and blah blah blah. But so yeah, all that to say, it is a laundry list of things, and and to bring it all home to your QC comment, um, yeah, then you have the sinking feeling when you get kicked back. They reject your show because it missed certain quality control.
Yeah.
And the quality control is not, they don't care about your dialogue, your story, they couldn't care less. It is robotically data, it's
Yeah.
purely technical issues. You have audio drops, you have pixelization, you have all these things. And so now you're back to square one. You thought you were saving money early on in post, now you can't deliver it. And you can understand the question is, why would anyone want to make a movie? I think that's the moral of the story.
Yeah. I
Long-winded
mean,
answer to get the point.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. Look, we need to be hit with a bit of honesty at times because we need to know what's coming. If I don't know what's coming, I can't prepare for it. A lot of filmmakers get caught flat-footed, and they don't have to, which is why one of the reasons I was excited, because I love this. This is the totality of the film business that people
Yeah,
don't really
yeah.
know too much about, and those deliverables are contingent upon any distribution deal that you get. So one time we had a pixel drop, and so they had to go back, and that was like early goings too, when they were, when digital was just starting to be
Sure.
something, and that's a no-no, and you can understand why. I mean, that's how they keep their standards for Netflix and Apple. They keep those standards high, but our team had to go back and figure all that out. And yeah, I mean, it's not that it was a nightmare. It's that all the more reason why a Kappa experience might and probably should be in your future, because you need allies. You need those people that knows about those deliverables. And also, like you mentioned, like we had our distributor offer to pay for some of our insurances. Now, again, for the listener, be very clear that they're going to bill you for that later. So they're going to get their money back for sure.
Right, right.
So when they were just willing to pay E&O, it was for errors and omissions insurance, and they were able to pay, or they were willing to pay E&O up front, but the money that came back from sales, they reimbursed themselves. Now it's still, I was fine with that because it got E&O done. I didn't know anything about E&O. I didn't know that was a requirement.
Yeah,
And then again, I also liked how you said about a lot of things are negotiable with your distributor, and it depends on your leverage. How bad do they want it? If they want it bad, they're willing to drop some money. If they don't, then you're probably going to have to pay for E&O, because they don't want to get E&O. Is just like how it sounds. It's insurance that protects you against any oops. You have a brand or something in there you shouldn't
right.
have, and then all of a sudden somebody takes issue because you're making fun of it. Usually, if you're not drawing attention to it, nobody cares. But it's these error and emissions just kind of protects them and gives them
Yeah,
a little bit of
exactly.
protection that they need.
Right.
So you guys have gotten into distribution a little bit as
Mhm.
well, and it's in a certain sector. If I'm,
Yeah.
is that correct? Yeah, it's in the you guys are doing the faith-based
Mhm.
market space for distribution.
Right.
Talk to me about that. Why did Kappa kind of feel a need? Was there something that you all were seeing that was like, man, this is just a big hole in the market? Because you guys are in a unique position. You're in post, but you also are very much, you've got all the sizzle of pre-production and filming and all that and post, and then you guys kind of come in at the post and near the end, and then delivery. Was there a gap in the industry that you all were seeing that was like, man, we just got to get in here? There's too much of a
Mhm.
opportunity or a pain point even for filmmakers. Can you maybe talk a little bit about your distribution?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I like how you phrase that. We weren't seizing some financial opportunity. We On our website, kappastudios.com. People can go to our website, kappastudios.com. There's a 5-minute video. It sort of explains who we are.
Yeah.
And I would say it explains who we are and why we do what we do. It's very intentional.
Yeah.
Um, in a broad 30,000 foot view, Kappa Studios, even from the days when I was a client and everything, very successful independent post production facility in Burbank. And I don't know where your watchers and listeners are, but Burbank is, I don't even think it's not even debatable. It is the epicenter of film and TV on the planet, Burbank and Los Angeles. So this is where Warner Brothers, Disney, Universal, all those ESPN, ABC, Fox, and all the support companies, Deluxe, Technicolor. This is the epicenter from where I'm calling you from or talking to you from. Within a 3 mile radius, maybe 5 mile radius, there's nothing like it on the planet. So to grow here is very difficult because the competition is just intense, and you're literally down the street from the major studios. I bring all that up to say Kappa was successful nonetheless, by not my doing, long before I came on board. But it was a change of heart that we felt that Paul, the owner, I was already there. We just felt, you know what, for our conscience, we never throw stones at anyone else. People do what they're comfortable doing. For us, we felt really compelled that we wanted to tell those faith and family friendly stories. That's what we gravitated towards, just personally, professionally. It was more of an internal conviction. All of it, Ingrid, was, I assure you, it wasn't for money. Look at the books. There's far less money in this. That was not what we were concerned about at all. So we really felt compelled to do that. And then that was Kappa Distribution or Kappa Studios. Fast forward, as time went on, per your point, we saw a need for sure in distribution for those types of films. Specifically, well, I take it back, distribution for any type of film. It is the fact that distributors have globally speaking, distributors have a poor reputation,
Yeah.
of not being the most integrous people on the planet. And this is a stereotype, big picture stereotype, right? Kind of seen as like I don't know, not the greatest, most honest people on the planet. Like, even as you're talking earlier about E&O insurance, my cynical brain couldn't even prevent from thinking when you said, E&O insurance is going to cost such and such, and yes, the distributor is going to recoup those costs. I go, in my cynicism, I'm like, oh, they'll recoup it and they'll mark it up an extra $3,000. It is not a recoupment for them. It is a profit center for them.
Yeah.
Okay. They'll front the $3,000 for E&O, and you'll be charged $5,000 for it.
100%.
It's a profit margin. So that is the reputation, deserved reputation for most distributors. So to your question, and this sounds so holier than thou, self-serving, and I don't mean it like that, but these are things I've learned the hard way. Okay. Yeah. So what would it look like? What would transparency look like for distribution? How can we let the filmmaker in on the books so they can literally see the reports we're getting, literally see where it's this as transparent as we could possibly be? So we felt that was good. It's very hard to make money in movies. It is a horrible investment in general. And the filmmakers, 90% of them, they will not, their investors, I hate to say it, because most of them will not make any money. They will not make profit most of the time. That's bad enough. But what makes it so much more slimy and harder is you get your reports from your distributor, and you have no idea what it even means. You have no idea if it's accurate. You have no idea where that marketing money went. You have no idea all these different things, right? And you saw nothing. Our thing is, if we can all share in the money, share in the transparency together, now we're in this together. We might all lose, but we're going to lose together. If we might all do great, we're going to do great together. If we do okay, the key is most people that I took, this is me as a filmmaker, I didn't care as much about it worked or it didn't work, fine. But I wanted to know the truth. You know what I mean? I wanted to know, okay, it only made $100,000 against $1 million. Okay, got it. But at least I got $30,000 of that. You know what I mean? Like, as a filmmaker, where before you get nothing. So I guess to meet the need we felt was transparent. It's just a transparent sharing the money from dollar one. Because typically the distributor gets paid first, their investor gets paid first. You as the filmmaker, you're getting paid third or fourth. And guess what? It never makes it past second. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, of course. I mean, I wrote an article that got a lot of traction on LinkedIn, and it was all about the funny bookkeeping, which is so frustrating because it just became some weird accepted practice that these films would not make money. Films, I mean, that we all can name that we know made money, and yet through the studio structure, the funny bookkeeping, there's technically on the books still in the red, and it's like, how in the heck?
Yeah.
So, Brad, I still am working with a few sales agents. How often do you think that I get my quarterly sales sheets? How often do you think I get quarterlies? I mean, by the name of it, I should be getting them every quarter.
Right. I mean, I'm kind of like, well, you just said quarterlies. You're saying
Yeah.
they don't even send the quarterlies?
So one company I've asked, I don't know, 12 times. I've received one in 3 years. The other one, I do get them, but they are like not 3 months behind. They're like, 9 months behind. But I do get them, and it's a tiny little company in Utah that they're still getting stuff through Tubi and stuff like that, which I'm grateful for. And they're at least giving me something to look
Great.
at.
That's
But
better than most right there.
it's better than most because notoriously, dear listener, unfortunately, when you're getting your what's called quarterlies, you generally don't get them. And it's super frustrating. And it contractually, the sales agent is required to give you them contractually. But they know
Right.
that, they're busy, they're going to all the markets. It's all the excuses. It's what it is unprofessional, is what it is, Brad. So is your distribution company, what's the name of that? Is it
Kappa Distribution.
it is? Okay.
Yeah, Kappa Studios and Kappa Distribution. They're separate companies, but they're both run here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's kind of what I figured. And are you all more of like a sales agent selling to things, or are you more, no, 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 we've got a platform, go over here and you can watch our platform? Which
Right.
direction are you?
So let me go a half a step back, okay? Because I was kind of talking at a certain level as far as here are the two fundamental problems with distribution. This is
Yeah.
globally, there are two fundamental things. One is what we call the waterfall.
Yes.
Okay. The waterfall is, it says that there are different groups of people or individuals associated with a film that should receive income based on sales. Theatrical sales, it doesn't matter. What money comes in, there are different parties that get that money. The distributor gets money. The filmmaker gets money. The filmmaker investor gets money. The person who puts in the marketing money gets money. You see what I'm saying? There's different entities that get the money. In Hollywood, and this is the way it's always been, to at least for as long as I've known it, 30 years I've been involved, the waterfall system is such that when the first monies come in, it doesn't get spread amongst the team. It goes to one group, whoever is in that first position. They call it a waterfall because picture like a bucket here, right? You got a bucket on my hand. You can see my hand. Wait. Hold on. There we go. Now I can see. Okay, good. So you got a bucket, right?
Keep talking. All right.
We got some artistic interpretation. Good. So you got this bucket. Money's come in. Let's say yeah, exactly. Money's come in. 100,000 comes in. Let's say your P&A investor put in $200,000, and your distributor gets 25%. Okay, 100,000 comes in. Well, the 100,000 first goes to the 25% of the distributor. They're good. The P&A person is in the second position, so they get the other 75. You've seen nothing. And it's not until that first group is completely made whole, plus whatever bonuses you've agreed to. For example, if someone put in marketing money, let's say someone put in $1 million in marketing money, they've only agreed to do it because they want a 20% bump on that on returns. So you owe them 1.2 million. They are to receive all of that 1.2 million before you receive a penny. Okay. So now of that 1.2 million, the distributor is going to take their 25% first. Everything else will go to the P&A person. And as I say, these aren't hard rules. Sometimes the distributors parallel. Sometimes the point is the marketing people get all their money, and then it trickles down to the next group. When that gets filled like a bucket, like waterfall, it flows like your thing. It flows over into the next group until the next group gets paid. So now, by the time the P&A person, which is Prince and that's the marketing people, and the distributor get paid, they've taken all of the money, And guess what? You've received nothing. Hey, you
Yeah.
do your diagram. Now go.
Yeah. You're spot on. I mean, the waterfall is just like this. It's a cascade of financing. So when money comes in, sales, where does it go? And it doesn't, to Brad's point, it doesn't come to you, dear filmmaker, which is down here at the bottom. You're last, right?
Yes.
So you have the distributor is going to take their percentage. Then P&A is going to take their percentage. If you have some type of debt financing, if you have loans against the project, banks,
Yep.
they're going to take their money first. Um, First position, you hear this term where you have investors that want to sit above other investors. A lot of time, unfortunately, Brad talked about a scenario where if you need a little more money for distribution or post, you need to go raise it. That's the last money in. Usually that's very expensive money because they know they need you, and or they know that you need them. And so that money sometimes can come with conditional parameters of we're first out. So they're behind debt, but they're first out above you.
Yep.
Okay. Above you. So, this might be a certain type of debt. This might be your high end investor that came in, again, last money out, um, last money in, first money out, this kind of thing. So, the waterfall is an interesting thing where you as a filmmaker and as a business person need to know this. It's not unique per se to the film industry, but you do need to understand it because particularly when you're developing the project and then you go and raise capital, because you're telling an investor when they're going to get their money. If you don't know the waterfall of the way money's coming back, you can really step on yourself and get yourself into some trouble because you're making promises to an investor and their expectation is, well, I thought you told me that I was getting my money out first. And because in the early days, you need that money so bad, you're trying to make any promise you can to get that money in the boat. So you're like, oh yeah, you'll get paid first. You'll get paid first. You haven't even talked to a distributor yet. You don't know that they're going to come in above, right? They're going to come in because they're going to de-risk. This is a business. These are business strategies, dear filmmaker. You need to hear that,
Yeah.
that this is thinking like business. And the waterfall can get complex. It doesn't need to be, but you do need to understand it, to Brad's point. So
But we do it different, by the way. We don't do that.
yeah. Tell me what you guys do.
Yeah, we
What do
do.
you do?
That was you mentioned earlier, like what was the need? Paul and I both. If you go to the website kappa.com, you'll see a little video. You'll get to know us and kind of who we are and what we do. But I bring it up to say that is. I love how you put it. That we divided the money made from distribution in the broadest sense. We divide into three categories or three groupings. One, to your point, the P&A investor, let's call it the marketing investor or the finishing investor. The last in, as you put it, last in, first out. Okay, that's the way Hollywood does it. So you got, let's just group them into three categories. You've got the people who fund the distribution and the marketing. You have the distributor, and you have the filmmaker and those who invested in the actual movie.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're talking about the people that invested in the actual movie and the filmmaker, that they're together in our world, okay? To your point, they may have invested 4 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
To help you along as a filmmaker. They've been supporting you and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And the negative of the waterfall is now 4 years later, the film is distributed, money's come in, but all the monies go to the people that gave the money last, not first.
Yeah.
You know what? We don't think that's fair.
Nice.
Okay.
I like it.
So our model is we call it $1 splits. As an example, again, it can be, let's put everything into one of those three categories. You're either the distributor, you are the person who funded the marketing, or you are the filmmaker / those who invested in the film. Okay. Our model, forget the numbers can be flexible depending on how much people are doing all that. But in principle, from $1, it is agreed. Distributor will get dollar as an example, The person who put in the marketing money, they get 40% from dollar one.
Okay.
The filmmaker and their investor gets 40% from dollar one.
Okay.
And the distributor, us, gets 20% from dollar one.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
So if 100,000 comes in, distributor gets 20, P&A investor gets 40, and filmmaker and their investor gets 40. Okay.
That's
Now,
awesome.
what if the same person who funded the film wants to fund the P&A as well? Awesome. They get
Right.
both. They're
Yeah.
still, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What if we as Kappa, what if we find the money and we put it? Great.
Yeah.
Then we're in that position.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It
Yep.
is cut and dry. Now, by doing it that way, we are truly a team, right? We're in this together. To which, when I said that, and we started that, there's one other thing we do, but that was one thing we do, then that was a non-negotiable for us. The waterfall was, we think that is so wrong. Like, almost like morally wrong in a way. Like, you know what I'm saying? But everyone like everything. Well, that's the way it's always been done. And you're like, cool.
Yeah.
So they said, this is how we're doing it with our P&A fund there. And not to sound like the victim here, but we're like, you'll never find P&A investors that are willing to do that because they're always used to being, as you put it, the last money's in, the first one out. Right. To which I said, well, then I guess we're not being in distribution then.
Yeah.
Then I guess we'll be a distributors then because it's non-negotiable for us. But check this out. There is a world where there are people that there's a word I use. I didn't make it up. It's called being reasonable. I talk to the P&A funders. I explain they may not even realize how it works. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's a situation. You want to market this. If you just want to do it strictly for money, you shouldn't be in the film business anyways. It's a high risk. Don't do this for money. You're a fool to begin with. So just know that. It's a very volatile industry. But long story short, man, it's like, I've talked to these funders, the marketing funders said, here, just like I explained just now, right? And I explained, here's the waterfall, here's why it's unfair to them. And I've had people, I didn't come up with the word, but at that moment, I was talking to a guy, he goes, when I explained, he goes, he was the one who gave the word to me, he goes, Brad, that sounds reasonable. I borrowed that word ever since. I stole it from him. And I go, his name is David. I go, Dave, thank you. And guess what? If he's being reasonable,
yeah, there might be some others.
It's hard to do this stuff, as you know. Man, now you have people, now we're truly on the same page. Now I'm saying, be a part of what we're doing. Yeah. You know, be a part of this team. So that is the first need that we felt need to be met. And the second issue is transparency. It's like, wait, what exactly did you do at the Cannes Film Festival for me that I have to reimburse you 18 grand for? What exactly was that? You know what I'm saying? What 100%. Exactly did your overhead cost of your Santa Monica bill, what exactly is that paying for? But all I know is I've received nothing, and every report I get, I'm further in debt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
If I get a report at all. And by the way, a lot of reports, they'll say if it doesn't hit a certain threshold, they don't have to send you a report. So in their mind, you didn't make $1,000, so we don't owe you the report, right? It's just you take this, I'm going to say unfair waterfall, plus total lack of transparency. You have a lot of discouraged filmmakers,
very much,
and their investors that are burned out. They'll never do it again, right? Yeah. So what if we had it where you could see the books, as you know, you could see the funds, you could, and we're all in this together. If a P&A person says, no, if I'm going to invest, I want to be last out. I insist. I go, cool. We're not right for you then.
Yeah.
There's plenty that'll do that for you. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So those are the two things that we're trying to solve. That wasn't the question you asked. That was my half a step back. So I forgot what else you asked.
No. I love that because, you know, again, I really like to hyper focus on the business side of things. There's a lot of other podcasts out there on craft and story, and who doesn't love that? But when you're really trying to get brass tacks, here's why, Brad. It's because I want to tell more than one story. I want to be able to do this again. And if I can't turn a profit, if I can't make this a business, then I'm not going to be able to continue to tell stories. And I cannot tell you how many people I've coached where they are one and done. And no matter how much I try to get them to do things, the business side of it is where they really get hit a lot of times. And it is super, super frustrating. So you all are now getting a little bit into the original content game. That I knew you guys were going into distribution. That was the last I kind of where we
Yeah,
had connected. So man, you gotta talk to me about this original content. How are you guys doing it? What are you guys looking to do? Have you
yeah,
guys already started? Do you have projects? Talk to me about your original content
sure.
thing.
Sure, you bet. Yeah, I would say when we started this, the purpose, the original intention was to really focus more on original content. Because up to that point, Kappa was just post production, and I'm not a post guy at all. I'm a writer director by background. I still don't do any post downstairs. The Yeah, I would say it this way that we for Paul and I, we are very intentional in our mission. We'll call it our mission. Like we're very purposeful in why we do what we do. We try. That's the key for us. We don't, like I said, we don't throw out. Everyone do whatever you want. For us, we felt very compelled to be very narrow in the type of content that we wanted to be involved with. I say that because um, if if our purpose, if you will, is to help create content that we feel uplifts the culture. I know that's a totally subjective statement that can mean 10 different things to 10 different people, but we had to be true to our own convictions and said, based on that, we want to help be a part of content. So we found that while we started, it was going to be heavy on original content. We found that, ooh, if we go lighter on original content, but more to help others finish and distribute and do their content, we're actually accomplishing our goal faster. Does that make
Mm,
sense? If it's
mm.
just us doing the original content, well, we do what, two or three projects a year, maybe great. But if we can back up and help 40 filmmakers and content creators help their projects, now we're a force multiplier. So I bring that up to say, there's a second category besides original content, which is a middle ground, which is there are projects that aren't quite working.
Hmm.
Okay, a filmmaker has made it; they can't get a distribution deal. We don't want to like, and the reason is because the film's not quite there. Again, that
Yeah.
is a subjective thing, but it's also objective in the sense that no distributor wants it,
Right. Nobody's
right?
coming. Right.
So you can tell me how great it is. Like, cool, agreed. Go sell it.
Yeah.
Why are you talking to me then if it's awesome? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you should have offers all over the map. People are
Yep.
looking for great content. It's their job to find great content. They put food on their family's table by finding great content. Why do they not want yours?
Right.
You're not a victim. You're not a victim. It's a hard world we live in, right? I say that because we have the original content capabilities and obviously all the editorial, we'll look at projects and go, you know what, we'll get a project that, let's say we say it's a 3 out of 10. Okay, we can actually we'll be good on. We go, you know what, if we put our hand to this, I think we can reimagine it with them, recut it, this and the other, maybe do some pickup shots. We can get it to about a 5.5, 6 out of 10. Is that
Hmm.
worth it? Yeah, maybe it is. Somebody will look at a project 3 out of 10. We go, yeah, maybe a 3.5, 4. We would say, yeah, we can't make it better. I bring that up to say that's the middle category of it's not necessarily original content, but it's reimagining and repurposing existing content and redoing it, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
So that is a big part of what I would call the production, the
Okay.
non-post side, if that makes
Okay.
sense, right?
Yeah.
And yes, but we've done a couple TV shows, one feature, and we're working on a pretty big, kids film series as well. So we have, yeah, not a ton of original content, but like I said, a lot of it would be in that middle ground there.
Yeah. I mean, as a coach, the most oddest thing that I didn't account for, Brad, was it's these people where they come to me and they have a little bit of financing, but not all of it.
Yeah,
Or there's always a couple pieces missing, or to your point, the story is 80% there,
right.
it's 80% there. And all of us filmmakers from day one, and I would even say as consumers, we all know story is king. I mean, I've heard that, my whole life, even outside of film. But as filmmakers, we know story is king. And yet, again, as a coach, I do find that it's in the idea itself that I find the most challenges, frankly. It's the idea itself is problematic.
So
And
true.
if they had someone to kind of help nurture them a little bit, they could, like you're talking about, they might be able to get it to a 10. but I do think that there's other levels you could go up. So I love that you guys are kind of stepping in there to say, is there something that we can help?
Right.
And all have a win versus this thing going to die. Because again, I have these projects where I have one currently where someone has a quarter of the financing on a $2 million project, and they have 500,000, and but there's a lot of these projects like that I find have pieces of it, but not all the puzzles. So good on you all for kind of seeing that need and then trying to meet that demand. I mean, I imagine the filmmaker, because you're going in ebbs and flows. You have the fear and stuff when you start, you're trying to raise money. Then God knows some miracle happens and you raise money. People don't know how much just that alone is like a win. You raise money to get to do a film. Yeah, it's that right there is a touchdown. And then the second touchdown is you actually get it in the can, because most films wipe out. Most films wipe out. And they wipe out in post. They don't wipe out when it's fun. You go and start filming stuff, and people don't realize you need to break the story 3 times. You're breaking it in the writing, you're breaking it while you're filming, and you need to break it when you're in post. And again, that's where pros like you all, like Kappa, can come in and really get those professional eyes on it. And you might be able to save a story where even the filmmaker starts to lose faith, because we all do. When you're breaking the story, you go, oh my gosh, what did I just do? I ruined it. And, and it's in fact, Brad, no film that I've ever written has ever ended up being identical to the finished product ever. So I know that is a treasure. So with your original content, your distribution, you have post. I want to jump back just for a minute to post. We don't need to talk about numbers, because that would be it'd be too difficult to try to present to a filmmaker of like trying to talk numbers. But can you maybe talk percentages, like out of my 100% budget, whatever it might be, what are you seeing is a nice number that post actually, you're like, okay, they at least truly thought about it instead of an afterthought?
Fair question. Even that is so tricky to answer.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think in those terms, in terms of what percentage of your overall budget. Because let's say I say 20%, okay? So you do $100,000 movie and you got 20,000 for post, we still not be maybe do much more.
Right. Yeah.
You're still going to get what you pay for in a sense. And people are like, 20 grand, that's a ton. Well, I agree. I agree. But that still doesn't get you much in big picture, in the real world of filmmaking. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of that. So I would I don't know. It's easy to give a percentage, but everything has to be custom. For example, what is your film? If it is it a VFX driven film? Well, then your post is going to be way more expensive than a character driven film with 2 people sitting in a room talking for 90 minutes. The post, or is there a lot of exterior shots? Well, the sound is going to take longer. Did you film it near an airport? It's going to be really hard to get, just all these different things that there's so many variables that I'm hesitant to give a blanket percentage for those reasons.
Yeah, no, well, just that information right there is, I think, buckets to consider when one is thinking about post. We all know we need post. That's not the shocker, but recognizing those buckets that you need to worry about for post might be.
Yeah. So, but here's the solution then. I agree with what you're saying. My advice, and this is where I really started to bond with Kappa when I was still a client, is talk to us before you shoot. You know what I'm saying? Call us before you shoot. No obligation or whatever. If we like the kind of content that you're doing, cool. Then call us, and then let us ask, what type of film is it? What is this? Well, oh no, it's we're actually filming it on we got a jazz club. We can actually film while they're actually doing their concerts. I'm like, dude, no. We're gonna have to redub the entire film.
Sounds awesome. Don't do that.
And with that's a silly example, but you know my point. Like, I'd rather know in advance so that you can know, because maybe your brother-in-law said, no, I got a buddy in Virginia. He did such and such. Like, okay, fine. Well, we can't do, so we can kind of give a range. I understand what you're asking. The problem is there's too many variety. How long is the film? How long is the script? Is it a 3-hour epic adventure, like, end game? Is it, what I'm saying? There's so many variables. So
Yeah.
number one, I would say is, you know, great advice I got 25 years ago. Learn how to finish the film and work backwards.
Hmm.
Learn how to finish. That was advice I got, and that's what kind of what helped me understand things, even as a director later. You know what I mean? So I say it to say this, like, yeah, try to talk to a distributor ahead of time. Is your idea even remotely marketable?
Yeah.
That alone is a silly, like, people ask me, what's Brad, would you actually talk to a distributor when I was doing my original content, my films, before before you finish the editing? I'm like, I would talk to you before I even wrote the script. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me? Here's
Yeah.
my pitch idea. I don't, everything's exciting to me.
Yeah.
Get objective people to look at your idea. You said idea earlier. You're so right. The concept, it's like, you have a setting. You don't even have a plot. Like things like that, or that's a really cool thing, but that's, I don't think it's going to resonate. So I would even think twice about that. So that's kind of some ways I look at it. And then the last thing I'll say, as far as budgeting for post, um, the other variable, major variable, would be, what is the first goal? What is your first benchmark? For example, what's your what like, I'm making a movie and I want it to be available to be streamed on Tubi. Okay, awesome, I get it. I'm making a movie and I want to open on 4,000 IMAX screens in July. Okay, I get that too. We will be drastically different in
Yeah.
budget. You see what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah.
there's so many variables. So what I ask is, so let's say we get a project that needs post. We'll give an honest assessment. Here's where we think you are. Now, where do you want to be? I want to be an, okay. What's the first stop that you want to be? I want to make a version that I can send to distributors. Okay, let's get you a nice screener mix. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to spend all the money. Let's do that. And you see what I'm saying? Let's work together to kind of stair step it. Because I'm sorry, the truth is the truth. It may fizzle. I hate to say this to a filmmaker, but I'd rather hear them hear it now. And again, by the way, I know nothing. I pretend to know nothing. I don't know if the film's gonna be a hit or because 25 years ago, I knew everything. I know nothing now. Okay, I've learned the hard way. But like you said, I'm saying, like to do that, Rob, would be to, let's get it to the. What if we get it to that screener level and nobody's interested? Then why the heck would we have wasted all the money on a full theatrical mix when you can't even get a streaming deal,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That's me. That's what I'm sorry. Then do what you want to do, but it's like it. You wouldn't act like that in almost any area of your life. Why are you doing it in film? You know what I mean? Like, why,
Yeah.
like you wouldn't be that almost careless. Like, I'm gonna buy a house. I don't know how much it costs, but I'm gonna start laying the cement. I'm gonna lay the cement down and hope that the drywall comes. You wouldn't do
Yeah.
that in anything, right? But for
Yeah.
some reason, the glitz and glamour, I don't know what it is, but it's like something about, to be fair, I only know this business. So maybe that is true in dentistry and accounting. I don't
I doubt it. And I
know.
do think it has something to do with the glitz and glamour and people's, they just hope, hope on, kind of prayer and thing. And that's never a good business model, when you go in with some hope. We all
Yeah.
need prayer. We all need a bit of hope, but you need validation incrementally. You need validation incrementally. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love the idea of, like, you're not pitching it to your friends and your friends, because they're all going to say they love the idea, but actually having, potentially an opportunity to see if the market will yield it. This is not to pitch my own product, but I actually created a little website, Brad, called Film Validator. And
Yeah.
the idea is to validate your idea. That's what it's for. And this is the pain point I'm trying to solve, is that you need a data driven analytical element to be able to give it some type of market value to see if it's valuable in the market space. And not every sales agent is going to give you the time of day to be able to do that. So I tried to put it into it's just a data set. It's not the final green light, and nobody should take it that way. But it is a point that you can very objectively go to an investor and say it got this ranking out of 100 kind of thing.
Sure.
That's what it's trying to do. Um, as we start to wind down, you said you grew up in LA. we all kind of throw stones at the studio system, and rightly so. They deserve a lot of stones, but I also know they do a lot of things right. Can you maybe talk about the delineation that the studios do right that you like, and what filmmakers, indie filmmakers, do wrong? What are they doing right that we potentially can emulate? And what is the indie filmmaker messing up that's driving you guys nuts? And like you said, if you had just come to us beforehand, we could have probably helped you figure it out. Maybe that one is the answer. But the studios and indies.
Okay, well, I mean, the studios there's sort of two categories. Rumor, I think it's probably true that these days the studios are getting more interested in the message they're putting out, where in the old days we would always say it was just about the money. And it's still largely about that. Yeah, I would say what it's so many, it's eye of the beholder in a lot of ways, right? Versus it might be right to them, but I think it's wrong, right? Yeah, I would say here's a tip of this is way big picture stereotype. So a studio exec, let's say that they're there to greenlight a project. Okay, if they greenlight this project and it fails, they're in trouble. That not the studio, that executive. You only get so many,
Yeah,
bats.
sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you got to keep putting points on the board. So here's the dilemma the studios have. They have to keep fourth quarter earnings going. Right? It's a money driven thing. And yes, maybe they have agendas and what have you. But the problem is, if I greenlight this and it bombs, it's my neck. I'll get one pass, but I got to be careful. But if I pass and don't greenlight it, and the other studio gets it and it does successful, it's also my neck. Why'd you pass, right? So it's you're in this tightrope of fear on both sides. So what is the result of that? Formulas or
Right.
formulaic
Very
pictures,
much.
like yeah. For example, at the new Doomsday, the new one with Avengers, right? I was cracking up when I saw that. It was like, this is just me with my popcorn, watching the parade go by. Like, glad that's not me. But as an example, this iteration of even MCU has not performed nearly what they were hoping. They were trying to reboot it, right? Or they weren't capturing the same magic they had before. So it's like after 3 years of no longer than whatever Endgame came out, or I guess the next Spider-Man was a big hit. But my point is now they're kind of in a little bit lost. So they just like got it, I got it. The Russo brothers and Robert Downey Jr. It's not a guarantee, but that's about as bankable as you're going to get, right? In other words, Disney says, okay, if we get the Russo brothers who did Endgame and Infinity War and get Robert Downey Jr. starring it, that is the Robert Downey Jr. How much do you need, Robert? 100
Yeah.
million, 200 million, 300 million? There's no money that they could pay the guy enough, right? So you see what I'm saying? It is
Absolutely.
we have terms for this. It is such it's just what they get. Let me put it this way. I'll put it right. What they get right in their mind is they treat it like a business. It's a commodity. It's a property. Now I might say that's what I hate about it, but that's just I the older, right? So number one is they have objective business metrics. Let's go there. You go. Objective business metrics. It's not a guarantee or anything, but they know how to mitigate risk. That's why you see the same sequels over and over and over. It has an audience. That's why you see the movies based on very top-selling books or something, because it theoretically has an audience. They're trying to mitigate risk, so they have good metrics. That's what they get right. So what filmmakers get wrong is perhaps if the goal is to make money on your film, which everyone says, no, it's just for the mission. Then when you're upset when it doesn't make money, then clearly it was about money. But long story short is that for the filmmakers get wrong is they might have a passion for this thing. And to your point, you mentioned earlier, I call this the American Idol. Right? I haven't watched it in 20 years. Back in the day when I used to watch American Idol, I call this this is what the filmmakers get wrong. The indie filmmakers, okay? It's the American Idol. You sang at the Iowa County Fair, and they loved you. So then you were asked to sing at the wedding for the mayor. They loved you. You did the 50th anniversary of the town square thing, and literally The guy, he actually was a recording, he had a recording studio back in the 70s. He said, you have more talent than, who's best right now? You sing,
Taylor Swift.
it's like
Yeah.
pop right now. Give me some, I used
Taylor,
to use Celine Dion, but I'm dating myself.
Taylor Swift.
There you go. Yeah, thank you. Oh, you think, perfect. Go. You went to the state thing, you went to the county thing, I had the state thing, and literally the governor himself or herself came up and said, I think you're better than Taylor Swift. So what the filmmakers get wrong is it becomes a something other than objectivity. So
Yeah.
now you sing for the American Idol things, and they like you too. You get a ticket to Hollywood. You're that good. Not many get that. Problem is, now you're down to the top 30 or 40. Now you're on the big stage. Now you're singing a cappella against other singers, and you are not even in their class.
Mm-hmm.
So you're crying when you leave because you didn't get selected to be in the top 24 or whatever. And they don't understand. The mayor said I was better than Taylor Swift, right? So I would say what the filmmakers get wrong, you brought it up, right? So it's like when you get to the big leagues, you're being compared to the best. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's no longer that you believe in it. It's no longer that you're passionate about it. Nobody cares. You care.
Yeah.
Your grandma cares. But if you're trying to get in the big leagues, you're going to be exposed right or wrong. And the good news, bad news is people will vote with their clicks.
Exactly. You can't deny that. I mean, people vote, and I used to say this all the time. People vote with their dollars. People vote with their clicks. Yeah. I mean,
Right, exactly. Same thing. Same thing.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, they're, and that proof is, again, right or wrong, the studios utilize as a metric of failure or success because, again, they want to do it again.
Yep.
Part of the problem I see indies doing is they they believe because they're so passionate at that county rodeo singing,
Right.
that and again, it's not that they're bad. It's that at that level, it's a different game.
Yeah.
And it also, I do find that part of a de-risking mitigation for the independent filmmakers listening is part of your tribe, pulling in other people,
Yeah.
which kind of goes back to, again, a team like Kappa in your corner. When I talked to you guys, one of the things that we did was, of course, because we had to go back and we were needing some posts. I think it was for a doc, and we were able to utilize you guys to say this is who we're partnering with, on this, and so it elevates you as the filmmaker. You're now adding this ally to where, and can you imagine if you talk to Kappa and you're talking to investors, and now you're looking smart because you're already talked to not only a post house, now you guys also can potentially help with and offer distribution and all that. So super interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, listen, I could talk to you all day, man. I should probably run pretty quick here. So, yeah, final thoughts, and then we'll pick this up part 2 next time.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, give me your kind of do out. What is it that you would tell a filmmaker listening, wondering what they should do next?
Yeah, so it depends. If by filmmaker you mean someone who is the originator and creator of the content, that's an easy answer. If it's a filmmaker in the sense of they're part of, they want to get like a job on crews, as part of the camera team, as part of the, I don't even know him. I'm so out of the loop with that. I don't even have advice for that. What are the, I did that back in the 90s. I'm so removed from that. I would say that, but so I guess the answer to the people they're the ones originating the content.
Yeah.
Here's the one thing I've seen consistently helpful, really going back to, I think, Steven Spielberg and anyone today. The most surefire way of breaking into this industry, and we have such an advantage today that we never had before, called social media. When people say, I really want to make movies, I go, cool, make a movie.
Yeah, go for it.
Make a movie. What's stopping you? Well, no, you understand this. Then you ask me my advice. That's my advice. Make a 10-minute movie. Make a 20, I don't care. And put it online. And watch what happens.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, whether it was Spielberg with Amblin back in the day, whether it's Dallas Jenkins, a show we do called The Chosen, he did a little short film, an 18-minute film, it went viral. So if you do content and it goes some version of viral, okay. If it doesn't, you can sit there and make all the excuses you want and all the disadvantages you had, fine. I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong, but the data says it's not as great of an idea as you think, or you may not be there yet. And you know what? Don't be discouraged though. Just do it again. Do it again. You know, if you got to be persistent in anything, right? So, long answer to the question is just, I would say, if you want to be a filmmaker, awesome. Do you have one of these? Cool. Make it. Now there's AI. There's so many opportunities that are just ridiculous opportunities. There is no reason. The good news is you can make content and post it. And like I said, people will vote with their clicks. Okay, number one. That's the good news. The bad news is because it's so easy and accessible, the competition is just more. It's a cluttered space. But the other thing I would say is no, be narrow. Like this is just advice for some people starting out. Find an audience that you want to talk to. You know what I mean? To try to be all things to all people, you better have $300 million and Robert Downey Jr. And if not, then find, what used to be broadcast, NBC, CBS, it's broadcast. We're in a world of narrowcast. There's thousands of ways people can watch stuff. But it's hard to get them to change their habits. So if you know your lane, hit that 100%.
Yeah, man. No, I hear you. That's great. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you all listening and watching. Make sure you do like, subscribe, leave a comment so Brad and I know that anybody's out there watching these things. But I do believe we're good to conclude our time with Brad Silverman of Kappa Studios. So thanks for watching. And remember, nothing is wasted.